Coming up to 5 to 7 now. An opera written and performed by the people of Llangwm in Pembrokeshire has won an award in a UK competition for projects commemorating the First World War. It is called World War I, A Village at War, and it tells the story of a young couple whose lives are torn apart by the conflict. Here's a taste.
Now we almost like the French. 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 God save the King! Viva la France! Long live the Tsar! Long live the triple entente!
Long live the triple entente. Coming from the lips of the people of Pembrokeshire. Let's talk to the chair of Llangwm's Local History Society, Jane Mills. Morning, Jane.
Good morning to you.
Wow, that's a terrific sound. Tell us how it came about.
Well, it started way back in 2012 when the Local History Society was trying to work out how we should commemorate Llangwm's role in the First World War. And obviously we wanted to research the stories of the men who went away to fight, what it was like back in the village. But we also wanted to come up with something slightly different and actually approached Samuel Howley, who is a local composer and musician and also directs our local Village Voices choir, and asked him if he could use his contacts to put on some sort of music hall type recruitment event in the village hall. And having asked him that, he thought for a second and then said, well, why don't I write you an opera?
Yeah, as you do, of course. And, I mean, what's the population of Llangwm? About 1,000, maybe a bit less?
No, it's 800.
Oh, right, quite a bit less.
It's pretty tiny.
Yeah, so you had to get your entire cast and everything from just 800 people?
Well, it's people of Llangwm and the local community, so there were over 100 people involved in the opera, which was a marvellous thing. Everybody was so committed to it.
And, I mean, it just wowed the judges, simple as that.
It did. They were so appreciative of it. And in fact, one of the judges, Dame Julia Cleverden, actually referred to it as an audacious project, which I suppose it was, because it was certainly a challenge.
Yeah, it certainly was. How on earth did you manage to get the money together?
Well, we initially approached Heritage Lottery, and they very kindly came up with money for us to fund the research and the exhibition that we put on, and to partly fund the opera. But once we'd got the script and the music together, we realised we needed some more money to actually do the project justice.
Yeah.
So we applied to the Community Covenant, and they also supported us. So we were able to put on 5 performances and, in fact, also have a day's filming and produce a DVD from it.
Well, you were at the ceremony last night. Were you really expecting to be in with a chance?
Not at all, because I mean, it was an honour to be able to be one of the finalists. And there were so many absolutely amazing projects that were being, recognised up there. And then when they announced that Llangwm's project had actually won, it was just overwhelming. It was marvellous, and such an accolade to everybody who took part in it.
What's the history of Llangwm and the First World War? Isn't there a story about it being one of the places which didn't actually lose anybody?
No, those the fortunate villages. We actually had over 60 men who went away to fight.
Right, because I know that there were villages in Pembrokeshire without a casualty.
There were several, yes, but not Llangwm, unfortunately, because we lost 17 men.
So your story, as told in the opera, is probably of great interest to the youngsters today.
Oh, it is, and in fact we had school children taking part in the opera, and teenagers and young people, so it was something that was very relevant to them, and I think which is something they will never forget, and they've taken on board the lessons of the opera and the story behind it.
Are you going to give a public performance anywhere?
Well, we had a performance in June to commemorate the centenary of the Somme.
Right.
That took place in St David's Cathedral as part of their International Music Festival.
Oh, wonderful, because I think you'd probably struggle to find anywhere big enough in Llangwm, wouldn't it?
Well, yes, we don't have very big venues here, but we're also planning to perform it again in 2018 to mark the end of the First World War.
Well, absolutely splendid. Very well done to you, and that's an extraordinary achievement for the village of Llangwm, as it became officially, but in 1890 they used to call it Llangwm, and I think most of the locals still do.
Well, you were around then, so...
Yeah, I think we do. Great stuff. Jane Mills is the chair of the Llangwm Local History Society.